Heartwarming revelation, how an unexpected maid shocked everyone with incredible Mandarin skills. Emily stared at the towering house, the sun glinting off the intricate windows, a stark contrast to her own humble life. As she knelt on the floor scrubbing away dust and grime, the silence felt heavy and oppressive. She was the maid, an invisible thread weaving through the opulent fabric of the wealthy Montclair family. Yet, beneath that facade, she was a single mother, and that was where her real strength lay. Just 10 years ago, she'd arrived in Colorado with nothing but dreams of a better life for her son, Liam. The daily grind of cleaning elegant spaces and waiting tables in a diner was a small price to pay for the promise of a brighter future. This morning, Emily was met with an unexpected twist. The Montclair's Chinese grandparents had arrived unannounced. She could feel the tension in the air as they shuffled from their car, their faces a map of worry and curiosity. Emily was accustomed to being a shadow, but today, that would change. As she set out trays of steaming dumplings, their eyes lit up. The family spoke animatedly in Mandarin, and without even thinking, Emily found herself stepping in, translating their words with surprising fluency. "Your grandchildren are doing well," she said, her voice steady, despite the bewildered expressions surrounding her. Their excitement was infectious. Seeing their delight felt like pouring warm honey over her heart. Their laughter echoed through the gilded halls, momentarily pushing aside the burdens resting on her shoulders. In that moment, connections sparked. They shared stories of their own immigrant struggles with Emily, revealing how they overcame social prejudices and fought for their dreams in a foreign land. Similar threads unveiled weaving through their lives. It was as if they recognized her tireless spirit, and their hearts began to soften. However, beneath this new bond simmered deeper sentiments. The Montclairs, while outwardly friendly, had a history of subtle biases lingering in their interactions. While Emily now found herself as a cultural mediator, translating not just words but emotions, she braced for a shifting tide. Just as hope flourished, her employer broached a prestigious job opportunity, one that promised an escape from scrubbing floors and serving cold coffee. "You'd be perfect," her boss enthused, yet Emily's heart raced with fear. That position required late hours, pulling her away from Liam, the very reason she endured the grind. Torn between ambition and motherhood, she felt encased in a storm of conflicting desires. Then came the pivotal family dinner. The grandparents, with their rich history, sat at the table as tension crackled. Voices rose, old biases clashed, and Emily found herself at the center of it all. Just as she thought understanding might bloom, a hushed secret erupted, splintering the evening into chaos. Emily's pulse quickened as she glanced at Liam through the doorway, his innocent eyes reflecting her internal turmoil. Should she fight for her dreams or shelter her son? The room fell silent, palpable anticipation hanging thick, her choices laid bare before her. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. The unexpected clash of cultures had irrevocably altered Emily's trajectory. Staring into the depths of their revealing eyes, she realized she was not just a maid, she was a bridge between worlds. The community outside this moment bore witness as uncertainty filled the air. Would she step into the expansive world waiting beyond or remain rooted in love, hope, and her steadfast duty as a mother? The stakes were higher than ever, and her heart raced at the crossroads confronting her. Would courage reign, or would she retreat into the familiar? The answers loomed large, fraught with emotion, leaving her all of them on the edge of extraordinary change. Emily's heart pounded in her chest. The silence hung in the air like fog, thick and heavy. She could feel the weight of 100 unspoken words swirling around her. Every look exchanged between the Montclairs was steeped in history, some hidden, some never meant for her to see. She took a deep breath, steadying herself for whatever storm was about to break. "Emily," Mr. Montclair finally spoke, his voice shaking the heavy air. "What did you hear just now?" Her mind raced. She could feel Liam's eyes on her, waiting, searching for answers. This was her moment, her chance to reclaim control. I heard people speaking their truths," she managed to say, feeling a flicker of strength. "Everyone has a story. We just need to listen." The grandparents looked at her, an appreciation dawning in their eyes that made her heart swell. They leaned in, wanting to hear what she would say next. Emily realized that she could be a voice, not just for her own story but for those who had felt marginalized. "Truths?" Ms. Montclair scoffed, the hint of disbelief palpable in her tone. "You're a maid. What do you know about our truths?" Heat flooded Emily's cheeks. But in that moment of vulnerability, she felt something shift inside her. "I know what it's like to struggle," she replied, her voice growing stronger. "I know what it's like to feel invisible. We all have struggles, it's what makes us human." Murmurs rose around the table, the grandparents offering nods of agreement. The fire ignited by Emily's words burned away some of the old biases. Maybe, just maybe, this was her opportunity to bridge the gap that had so often divided their worlds. Mr. Montclair remained skeptical, though. "Why should we trust your opinions? You're just a maid." Those words hurt, but they also fueled her resolve. No longer was she just a nameless face scrubbing floors. Emily straightened her back, turning to face the entire group. "You're right, I'm a maid. But I also speak multiple languages. I've worked hard to provide a future for my son. I may not come from your world, but I understand the hidden struggles behind those privileges. I see you, just as you see me." Gasps erupted around the dining room. The tension began to morph, shifting from sharp edges into smoother contours. The Montclair grandparents smiled at her words, and flickers of understanding sparkled in their eyes. They leaned closer, eager to connect. This was the moment where different lives began to intertwine, the gap narrowing in every passing second, but before Emily could relish in the warmth of these newfound connections, a loud crash erupted from the other room. "Liam!" Her heart dropped. She rushed toward the sound, worry replacing her earlier fervor. She found him sprawled across the floor, holding a broken vase. Tears streamed down his cheeks. "Mom, I didn't mean to," he cried, his chin trembling. Emily's heart broke. She scooped him into her arms, feeling the weight of the world descend again. The Montclairs stood by, watching the scene unfold. She wished she could somehow keep the pieces of her own life together while also piecing together this new connection. "Liam, it's okay," she murmured, wiping his tears away. But inside, turmoil brewed. The Montclairs had witnessed both her strongest and weakest moments tonight. Where did that leave her? Would they judge her for her son's mistake? As she stood there, cradling Liam, the atmosphere shifted once more. The Montclairs approached cautiously, their disappointment replaced with empathy. "Accidents happen, kiddo." One of the grandparents knelt down, offering a comforting smile. Emily was taken aback. Could this be a real turning point? Would they accept her and her son? There was a chance, a glimmer of hope on the horizon. The question loomed, could Emily weave together their fates in a way that would change them all? As the room filled with new conversations, Emily felt the pull of possibility, but that nagging fear still lingered in her chest. Change was brewing, but at what cost? The night was far from over, and much remained unanswered. Would the bonds being formed today outlast the challenges that awaited? As she gazed into Liam's innocent eyes, she knew she needed to find out for them both. Emily held Liam tightly, his little body trembling against her. In that moment, she felt like the whole world had shrunk down to just the two of them, lost in a storm of emotions: fear, love, uncertainty. The Montclairs hovered nearby, their gazes softening as they took in the scene. "It's okay," Emily whispered, brushing a lock of hair from Liam's forehead. We can fix this. Her mind raced. What if this was an opportunity to change everything? Instead of feeling ashamed of her failure as a parent, maybe she could show them that even in mishaps, there is a lesson to learn, a story to tell. Mom, I really didn't mean to break it. Liam wailed, pulling away just enough to look her in the eye. Emily cupped his face in her hands, needing him to understand. I know, sweetheart. And I want you to remember that mistakes happen. What matters is how we deal with them. She glanced over at the Montclairs, who exchanged looks that spoke volumes. Slowly, Ms. Montclair stepped forward. Liam, accidents can teach us. I remember when I didn't mean to spill paint all over my mother's favorite rug. I was so scared, just like you. But it taught me that we all make mistakes, even adults. Her voice was kind, and she knelt beside them, matching Liam's gaze. The walls around Emily's heart began to crumble. Perhaps they were as human as she was. This was a step forward, one tiny stitch in their intertwined lives. See, Liam? Emily affirmed, her heart swelling with hope. You're not alone here. They see you. Liam's face transformed from misery to surprise. It seemed he could suddenly feel the warmth from Miss Montclair. His own little hands slowly reached out, fingers brushing against hers, as if confirming she was truly there. As the moment stretched, another grandparent grinned. You know, Liam, he said, when I was your age, I once broke a family heirloom. They were shocked, too, but it turned out to be a blessing. Our family came together and created a whole new tradition around it. Sometimes, our biggest mistakes can lead to the most beautiful changes. Emily felt a wave of comfort wash over her. They were sharing their stories, just as she wanted. The gap was closing. And look, Emily added, we'll get through this together. We can learn from each other. Liam's eyes were brightening, and as Emily glanced at the Montclairs, she saw understanding reflected back at her. They were beginning to shift, to see the beauty in the collided worlds. Just then, another crash echoed from another room, another hint of chaos. Emily flinched, expecting the worst, but finally let out a nervous laugh. What now? But before anyone could answer, a voice rang out from the doorway. Sorry. I knocked over a tray. A young woman, the daughter of the Montclairs, stood sheepishly, wide-eyed, a few dishes lingering precariously in her hands. Emily chuckled, despite herself. The scene echoed their own mishap, a reminder that life was messy for everyone. Looks like we're all having a bit of a rough night, she said, sharing a look with Liam that agreed they wouldn't let this derail them. The laughter that followed was unexpected yet genuine, a bubbling up of shared experience in the warmth of the moment. But as the lightness filled the room, a thought struck Emily. What if this sense of connection could stretch beyond tonight? Would they find ways to continue this dialogue, this newfound understanding? Emily could sense a shift within herself too. She was gaining strength, finding community where she never expected it. As they started to gather the pieces of the broken vase, Emily's heart raced with possibilities. What would they continue to build from here? With each step they took, everything felt like it was evolving. She looked at the Montclairs, then at Liam. Could this be the start of true change, or just a fleeting moment? And could her voice break through the remaining barriers in their lives? Mom. Liam's voice cut through her thoughts, pulling her back to the moment. Will they really understand our stories? With that question hanging in the air, the spark of hope clashed with the fear of rejection. Would they embrace the truth of their shared life stories? As the laughter died down and their hands worked in unison, Emily couldn't help but wonder what revelations awaited them all. Emily's heart pounded in her chest as she helped Liam pick up the shards of the vase. The pieces glimmered like tiny shards of potential, each one a reminder that from brokenness could come something new. As they worked together, the atmosphere shifted, the initial heaviness resolving into tangible cooperation. Can I hand you this? Liam offered, extending a piece of ceramic with both hands, his small eyes shining with pride. Yes, you can. Emily smiled, her heart swelling with tenderness. You're being such a big helper. Nearby, Ms. Montclair knelt to join them, now sharing laughs and anecdotes about her own childhood mishaps. You know, she said, once I thought it would be a great idea to carve my name into a tree with a rock. I ended up with a very tricky situation, not to mention a lot of splinters. The gentle laughter that followed made Emily's heart soar. It was more than just a moment of bonding, it was a shift in perception. They were all sharing flawed, human stories, showing that vulnerability could bind them tighter. The narrative was transforming from shame to shared experience. Just then, the Montclair's daughter chimed in again. I guess the key is how we handle our mistakes, right? Like, we could always use leftover clay and make something from those pieces. She picked up a few remnants and held them up. Liam's eyes lit up, excitement radiating from him. Can we make something together? Absolutely. Ms. Montclair said, the warmth in her voice enveloping the room. How about a garden for our family to grow? Emily's heart danced at the thought. They could build something beautiful together, something that could remind them of this night, a garden filled with laughter, mistakes, and love. As they continued chatting, Emily felt the threads of their stories weaving together, binding them into something greater. She caught glimpses of the Montclairs as they shared knowing smiles, their acceptance turning the night's earlier chaos into something joyful. Liam laughed as he pushed the remnants around, imagining the stories they could tell one day about this mishap. And then we can tell everyone we're professional vase breakers. His innocent laughter filled Emily with warmth, a reminder of the light that children brought into the world. Their hearts were open, raw but ready for healing. Emily saw new potential in the Montclair's eyes, a spark of understanding that revealed the promise of a lasting connection. Let us gather some more materials, she suggested. We've got some old pots and soil outside we could use. The Montclairs exchanged glances, the kind that promised unity. We're in. Their daughter said, beaming with enthusiasm. Let us make this garden a reality. As they stepped outside into the cool evening air, Emily felt an overwhelming sense of hope. She had stepped out of her own fears and into a space filled with possibility. One little boy, a broken vase, and a series of stories had turned the tide. Mom. Liam said, tugging on her sleeve as they walked, do you think they'll really come back to visit? His question hung in the air, a delicate thread connecting the past to the future. Would this be the beginning of a bright new chapter for their families? Emily smiled down at her son, feeling a mix of excitement and vulnerability. I can certainly hope so. With that, they moved forward, each footstep echoing the fresh heartbeat of a community forming. But just as the warmth of connection wrapped around them, an unexpected sound echoed through the neighborhood. Someone was singing an unfamiliar melody beautifully sung in Mandarin. Emily paused, an involuntary smile crossing her lips, drawn in by the beauty of it. I wonder who that is. What could this unexpected voice mean for their night and their journey ahead? Would curiosity lead them into another moment of connection, or would it open doors they hadn't even considered? The air was tinged with curiosity as Emily and the Montclairs stood still, soaking in the enchanting melody. It floated on the breeze, wrapping around them like a warm embrace. Liam's eyes widened in wonder, his little face lit up with intrigue. Mom, can we find out who is singing? Before she could respond, Ms. Montclair stepped forward, her expression a mix of excitement and nostalgia. I think I know that song. It's a folk tune from my friend Maid. She's lived in the neighborhood for years. Emily felt a flutter of anticipation. They had carved out a tiny community around the broken vase and the promise of a garden. Now, the unexpected music pulled at their hearts, inviting them to explore even deeper connections. Let us go find her. Emily encouraged, her voice brimming with enthusiasm. They made their way down the gentle slope of the lawn, towards the source of the song. The closer they got, the clearer the notes became, filled with emotion and storytelling. As they rounded the corner, they found May, seated on her porch, full of joy, singing her heart out. Her rich voice flowed like a river, capturing the essence of warmth and nostalgia. Her porch, adorned with blooming flowers, resembled a charming stage set for their moment of discovery. "May!" Ms. Montclair called, waving her hands as if they were flags of friendship. The singer looked up, her eyes sparkling with surprise and delight. "Ah, friends!" she exclaimed, her accent a gentle caress against the unfamiliar sounds of Mandarin. "Come join me." Liam bounced on his feet, the infectious energy of the moment compelling him forward. Emily felt her heart swell. Here was another thread ready to weave itself into their growing tapestry of connection. As May finished her song, she offered them a bright smile. "I hope I didn't disturb your evening. I just couldn't resist singing. It's a part of my heritage." "Not at all," Ms. Montclair replied, her face beaming. "It was beautiful. We're in the process of making a garden and we'd love to include you." May's eyes widened in surprise, and she stood up abruptly, her excitement palpable. "A garden? Oh, I'd love to help. I have seeds from my family in China, and we can add a cultural touch." Emily and Liam exchanged gleeful looks. This was turning into something extraordinary. The garden was transforming from an idea into a beautiful representation of their collective journeys, mistakes, and aspirations. "Plus," May added, "I can teach you more songs. They tell stories of strength and community." As they all gathered around the porch, the atmosphere shimmered with energy, as if the stars had aligned. Stories began to flow, layered with laughter and shared experiences, weaving their futures together. Emily felt tears of joy prickling at the edges of her eyes. They were creating something genuinely beautiful, a place where their differences would merge into a singular story of bond and belonging. "Mom," Liam piped up again, his voice bright. "Can we call it the Garden of Friends?" "Absolutely," Emily affirmed, her heart full. "That sounds perfect." But just as they began to make plans, a stranger walked by the porch, pausing to take in the lively gathering. "Are you all starting a community project?" he asked, his tone piqued with interest. In that moment, a new challenge lay in waiting. What would this stranger bring to the table? Would he be a part of their story or an obstacle they hadn't anticipated? Emily's heart raced, navigating the excitement of connection alongside the uncertainty of new encounters. What lay ahead as their garden story unfolded? Emily stared at the stranger, her brain a flurry of thoughts. His plaid shirt was reminiscent of farmers in their community, and his curious eyes scanned their little gathering, as if assessing whether they would welcome him in or keep him at arm's length. "Community project?" Ms. Montclair echoed, her enthusiasm not dampened in the slightest. "Yes. A garden of friends. We would love more hands." The stranger stepped closer, revealing a hint of a smile. "My name's Brian," he introduced himself, extending a hand. "I love gardening. I've grown tomatoes, peppers, but never a community garden. Could be fun." His openness dissolved some of Emily's apprehension. Brian seemed genuine. A friend, or maybe, just maybe, a valuable asset to their project. "It's not just about planting flowers," Liam chimed in, his voice earnest. "We're sharing stories, too." May nodded, her smile unwavering. "Yes. Stories build bridges." Brian raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "What kind of stories?" As if welcoming the challenge, May leaned forward, gesturing with her hands, vibrant stories pouring forth in a mix of English and rich Mandarin singing of ancestors and lands. Emily caught snippets about festivals, harvests, and laughter shared under the moon. Brian stood captivated. "You speak Mandarin?" he asked, a spark igniting in his eyes. "I've never heard it before." "I can teach you a bit," May said, her enthusiasm echoing across the small space. "It's like learning to sing. Count me in." Brian replied, laughter in his voice as he shifted on his feet, evidently warming to the idea of being part of something new. Emily watched as these threads began to intertwine, her heart swelling once more. The garden was no longer just a project, it was transforming into a tapestry of lives woven together with common dreams and budding friendships. "Let us meet to discuss plans tomorrow," she suggested, her voice threading through the air with newfound excitement. "We can talk about planting days, stories to share, and maybe even a little gathering to celebrate once the first flowers bloom." Everyone murmured in agreement. Joy pulsed in the air, igniting visions of countless days spent together, tending their garden and one another. But just as Emily felt the warmth of connection wrapping tightly around her heart, Brian's expression shifted, his brow furrowing. "I actually moved here recently. To be honest, I've been a bit lost. This neighborhood is new to me. I didn't think I'd find anyone so welcoming." His vulnerability struck the group, silencing the chatter that flickered like fireflies around them. Emily felt a pang of recognition. She had experienced the loneliness that comes when stepping into the unknown. "Brian," she said softly, "we're all finding our way here together. We want you to be part of this community. No one's alone anymore." With his shoulders relaxing, Brian smiled. "Thank you. I'd love that." Their evening unfolded with laughter, stories shared effortlessly under the increasingly starry sky. Emily couldn't help but picture what their shared garden would yield, not just flowers and vegetables, but laughter, lessons, and the roots of new friendships digging deep. As they wrapped up for the night, a light breeze swept across the porch, sending petals dancing through the air. Suddenly, something caught the glimmer of moonlight, a small envelope, tucked underneath a flower pot. "What's that?" Liam exclaimed, pointing to the envelope, a curious look on his face. Everyone turned to the small discovery, intrigue peaked in the air as a sense of collective wonder swelled within them. Who had left it there? What did it contain? Emily could feel her pulse quicken once again, excited by the mystery. What would this envelope reveal, and how would it shape the story of their blossoming garden? Emily bent down, her heart racing as she carefully picked up the envelope. It felt cool against her fingers, its surface smooth yet slightly crumpled from being hidden away. She glanced at her friends, their anticipation palpable, eyes wide with curiosity as they leaned closer. "What do you think is inside?" May whispered, her voice laced with excitement. "Only one way to find out," Emily replied, her heart pounding with the thrill of the unknown. She tore open the envelope, the faint sound filling the quiet air around them. A folded piece of paper slipped out and landed softly on the ground. Carefully, she unfolded it, revealing a handwritten note in elegant script. The first few words made her pulse leap. "Dear Gardener of Friends." It felt as though it was written just for them, echoing the very essence of their project. "The Garden of Friends." Liam read aloud, his voice mixing with wonder and disbelief. "Someone knows someone's been watching." Emily continued reading, the words pulling her deeper into a mystery tangled with hope. The note spoke of an elderly woman named Mrs. Lee who had lived in the neighborhood for decades. She reminisced about the gardens filled with laughter and stories that once bloomed in their community. The note concluded with an invitation: "Would love to join you and share what I can about gardening and life." As she finished, silence enveloped them, each person lost in the new weight of the moment. Brian looked particularly enthralled, his gaze darting around as he processed the message. "Mrs. Lee?" he mused, his voice barely above a whisper. "I've heard of her. She's like a local legend. They say she has a garden that has been untouched for years, growing wild and beautiful." Emily's heart quickened. Her initial excitement about the garden began to mingle with deeper feelings, a hope that they could reignite something in their neighborhood's heart and connect with its past, together. "Maybe we should visit her tomorrow?" May suggested, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. Imagine what stories she could share. What gardening wisdom. "Count me in," Brian exclaimed, more animated than before, clearly captivated by the thought. They all nodded, a wave of exhilaration washing through them. It was like a new mission blossoming right before their eyes. The garden would no longer just be about planting, it had the potential to become a bridge spanning generations, but as they began to discuss the logistics, Emily couldn't shake the feeling that this was more than just a garden or a gathering. It was a chance for transformation. As she looked at Brian, with all his raw openness, and May, with her vibrant spirit, she felt the weight of her own stories. Just then, the wind shifted, rustling the trees nearby, and a chill grazed her skin. "What if we brought something to Mrs. Lee?" she suggested suddenly. "Something from our own stories, to share in return for her wisdom." "Like what?" Liam asked, always practical, eyebrows furrowed in thought. "Flowers from the garden," Emily replied. "Something symbolic of what we're creating together." Everyone nodded, the initial excitement morphing into something deeper and understanding that sharing was as vital as planting seeds. As they wrapped up their discussions for the night, the air buzzed with anticipation and wonder. But just as they were about to break apart, Emily felt the urge to turn back. What if Mrs. Lee has her own secrets? She blurted out, a mix of fear and excitement dancing in her voice. What if she knows why this community has grown so distant? The question hung in the air, heavy and charged, as they stood together under the twilight sky, hearts beating in unison. Emily couldn't help but wonder, what truths lay hidden in the garden of their forgotten neighbor? Tomorrow promised to unveil the unknown. The sun peeked over the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink as Emily and her friends gathered at the community garden. Each of them held a small bouquet of flowers, hand-picked from their homes, a mix of daisies, marigolds, and wildflowers. They felt a connection to something bigger, their fingertips stained with soil and dreams of revival. "Are you guys ready?" May asked, her voice brimming with excitement. The flowers swayed gently in her hands, their colors cheerful against the early morning light. "Absolutely," Brian said, practically bouncing on his heels. Emily could see the way he gripped his flowers like small treasures, a sparkle in his eye that mirrored her own eagerness. They shared a moment of camaraderie, knowing they were about to step into the unknown together. As they approached Mrs. Lee's house, Emily noticed the tall hedges encircling the garden were wild yet beautiful. They reached the door, a weathered and sun-bleached gate that seemed hesitant to open, much like their own hearts. "What if she doesn't want to talk?" Liam said, squaring his shoulders. His voice was cautious, as everyone's nerves began to settle in. "But what if she does?" Emily countered, her excitement outweighing the anxiety. "We can do this." With a collective breath, they knocked. The sound echoed in the stillness of the morning. After what felt like an eternity, a creak of the door announced Mrs. Lee's presence. She was a petite woman, her gray hair pulled up into a loose bun, a few strands framing her face. Her warm smile instantly made everyone feel at home. "Hello, dear gardeners," she said, her voice gentle but spirited. "What brings you here today?" Emily stepped forward, the bouquet trembling in her hands. "We found your note. We want to hear your stories and share our dreams for our garden." Mrs. Lee's eyes sparkled with recognition. "Ah, the garden of friends. I had almost lost hope. It's a lovely thought." She beckoned them inside, and as they stepped into her garden, the sight was breathtaking, a riot of colors, with flowers blooming in wild abandon. A tapestry of growth, filled with life and memories, they stood in awe, the vibrant petals whispering stories of their own. Mrs. Lee began to walk among her plants, stories spilling from her lips like petals on the breeze. She spoke of the community that once flourished, how laughter echoed through the neighborhood, and how nature had nurtured friendships. This garden was once a sanctuary for love and laughter, she reminisced. But as the years passed, it fell into disrepair, just like our connections. Emily felt a knot in her chest unraveling. "But we want to reignite that," she said, looking around at her friends. "We believe this place can feel alive again." "Yes," Brian chimed in, "with your stories and our passion, we can weave a new tapestry." Mrs. Lee's smile deepened, but there was a flicker of sadness in her eyes. It won't be easy. There are truths buried beneath the soil, both in the garden and in us. That weight was palpable. What did she mean by secrets? Emily felt her stomach turn slightly. What sort of truths? She asked tentatively. Truths either forgotten or feared, Mrs. Lee replied, gazing into the garden, lost in the memories. I will share my stories, but they come with shadows. Are you sure you want to hear them? Emily glanced at her friends, their determination mirrored in their expressions. We want to understand. We want to bring everyone back together again. Mrs. Lee nodded slowly, and just as she opened her mouth to speak, a rustle in the bushes interrupted. A flash of movement caught Emily's eye. Her heart raced. What was lurking among those wild, beautiful flowers? She felt the tension rise, the anticipation thickening the air. Hold on, she said, a chill of curiosity wrapping around her. What is that? As the sound grew closer, a moment of truth shimmered on the horizon. Would it be a new adventure? Or would it lead them deeper into the shadows that Mrs. Lee referenced? Emily's breath caught in her throat. The rustle in the bushes grew louder, accompanied by a faint scuffling sound. Her friends exchanged uncertain glances, the earlier excitement now mingled with trepidation. What if it's a raccoon? Liam whispered, his eyes wide. Or something worse? Just stay calm, Emily urged, though her heart pounded like a drum. Let us see what it is. Taking a step closer, she squinted into the foliage, desperately trying to catch a glimpse. With a dramatic swish, the bush parted, revealing a small figure. It was a child, no older than 7, with wild curls framing a freckled face. She held a handful of colorful flowers, just like the ones they had brought. The girl's eyes sparkled with mischief and excitement, as if she had just stumbled upon a treasure. Hi! She exclaimed, grinning widely. Are you here for the garden? Emily blinked, taken aback. Yes. We're, trying to bring it back to life. I heard you talking. The girl bounced on her toes. My grandma used to talk about the garden all the time. You should see it in spring. The flowers dance, and the fairies come out for tea. Mrs. Lee stepped forward, her expression softening. Is that you, Mei Ling? Have you been eavesdropping again? The girl giggled, unfazed. Maybe. But I wanted to see if you really were going to make it beautiful again. Grandma would love that. A wave of warmth enveloped the group. Emily felt her heart swell. This was the kind of spirit they wanted to encourage. A connection to the past, and the promise of a brighter future. Mrs. Lee crouched down to Mei Ling's level. Your grandma's stories are very special, dear. Can you tell us one? Maybe about the garden? Mei Ling's enthusiastic nod was instantaneous. Okay. Once, there was a sunflower that was as tall as a house. Every morning, it would stretch its petals and talk to the clouds. The bees loved to visit it. They said it was the friendliest flower. The child's voice bubbled with excitement, and Emily could see the spark of wonder in her eyes. It was contagious. Her friends leaned in closer, caught in the charm of the girl's storytelling. And then, one day, the sunflower got so big that it started picking up the whispers of the townsfolk and planted them in the ground. That's how seeds of happiness were spread everywhere. Mei Ling exclaimed, her hands animatedly illustrating the story. Emily's mind soared. You know, she said gently, this garden could use a sunflower like that. Would you help us plant one? Yes. I'll be your helper. Mei Ling beamed. Suddenly, Emily felt a renewed sense of purpose. If we work together, we can bring everyone back to the garden. You, me, Mrs. Lee, all of us. We could make it an amazing place again. Yes. Brian cheered, catching the enthusiasm. And we can invite the whole neighborhood. But before they could plan their next steps, a distant voice called out, Mei Ling. Where are you? A shadow fell over the garden as a tall figure emerged from behind the house, a woman, radiating authority but softened by concern. "There you are. I've been looking everywhere for you." "Mom!" Mei Ling squealed, whirling around. "Look! I'm making new friends." Emily felt a flutter of uncertainty. Would Mei Ling's mom support their efforts? Would she understand what they were trying to revive? The woman squinted, assessing the group with wary eyes. "Who are you?" she asked, her tone protective yet curious. Holding her ground, Emily stood tall. "We're working with Mrs. Lee to restore the garden and create a place for everyone in the community to come together. We'd love your help too." The woman paused, the weight of her gaze lingering on each of them. Emily felt the tension rise again, her pulse racing as she waited for the verdict. Would this be the moment that opens doors, or would it close them just as fast? With the air thick with anticipation, Emily could only hope. The woman's stern expression softened as she watched Mei Ling's excitement bubble over. Her gaze swept over the garden, vibrant with life and potential, contrasting sharply with the cool detachment of the past. "You want to restore this?" she asked, her voice less guarded, echoing tentative hope. "Yes," Emily replied, her heart racing with both fear and determination. "We want to create a place where everyone feels welcomed, just like your mother once did." The woman's eyes flickered between Emily, the garden, and her daughter. "It's been a long time since anyone cared about this place." There was pain in her voice, a small crack where memories fought against the present. "Then let us change that," Emily urged, her resolve clear. "Together, we can bring back the joy this garden once held. Your mother's stories deserve to live on." May's mom looked down at her daughter, who beamed with unfiltered enthusiasm. The warmth in her expression began to thaw the lingering doubt. "You really think the garden can come back to life?" Liam, ever the optimistic spirit, chimed in, "Imagine the flowers. We can plant sunflowers just like the one Mei Ling talked about. And vegetables, too. Everyone can get involved." The woman's hesitance began to crumble. "Okay," she sighed, a mixture of acceptance and intrigue surfacing. "Perhaps you're right. Maybe this is exactly what we need, something to bring people back together." With that, the group formed a circle, hands clasped tightly together. Mrs. Lee joined them, her voice strong yet filled with tenderness. "Together, we'll weave new stories into this garden, just like the old ones. We can plant memories, share them, and make new friendships bloom." Heartbeats quickened, anticipation electrified the air. Emily could already see it all unfolding, laughter echoing through the flowers, voices mingling as stories flowed like sunlight on petals. They were at the dawn of something beautiful, a new beginning rising on the horizon. As the sun settled higher in the sky, casting gentle rays over the garden, they began talking and planning. The butterfly of change fluttered wildly in Emily's chest as sketches of their dreams were drawn in the earth, blending vibrant ideas with budding friendships. "Let us meet every Saturday to work on the garden," Brian suggested, eyes shining. "We can invite the entire neighborhood. Everyone deserves to share in this transformation. So many stories to tell." Mrs. Lee's voice sparkled as she began recounting her tales from long ago, wrapping her presence around them like a comforting embrace. "I'll make sure everyone knows." Mei Ling burst out, jumping on the idea. "I'll tell my neighbors and friends at school." With each small contribution, a sense of unity grew. Other voices began to blend into the chorus of excitement, painting promises of revival. They envisioned the old neighborhood gathering under blooming sunflowers, exchanging laughter, sharing flowers, planting seeds both literal and metaphorical. Emily smiled down at Liam, who clutched her hand tightly, clearly happy. "Mom, we're really doing this." His innocence captured the essence of their collective hopes. He was on the precipice of a new world filled with stories. "Yes, buddy. We are." Emily could feel the layers of uncertainty peeling away like old paint, exposing fresh colors that vibrated with possibility. As the community gathered, new faces emerged, thawing barriers built from isolation. With every flower planted and story shared, they stitched together a rich tapestry of lives overlapping. Each person who joined added their unique hue, enriching the garden's landscape much like they were weaving a new future for themselves. Days turned into weeks, and the garden transformed from a forgotten wildflower patch into a tapestry of colors, bursting with life and laughter. One morning, Emily knelt beside a bright sunflower, its head lifted high towards the sun, and a glow of pride swelled within her. "Look at all we've done, Liam," she said, breathing in the invigorating sense of earth and blooms. "This garden is more than just flowers, it's our home." He beamed, his small hands cradling dirt as if it were treasure. "And we did it together." As laughter floated through the air, Emily looked up to see the Montclairs and May's mom smiling, a shared warmth igniting between them. Everything flourished, as did their newfound friendships, grounded in shared stories of resilience and hope. The garden became a sanctuary. A space where everyone learned to embrace vulnerability, where laughter sprouted alongside daisies, and even the broken vase celebrated its new place among the blooms. As she stood there, surrounded by friends and family, Emily felt a wave of gratitude washing over her. This was the life she dreamed of, not just for herself but for all of them. They were no longer strangers. They had opened their hearts, revealing the magic of community. And as the sun painted the garden in golden light, Emily realized that the most profound transformation of all had not just been about cultivating flowers, it had been about cultivating love, understanding, and connection. With every story adding a brushstroke to their shared canvas, the future shimmered ahead like the light dancing on the leaves, filled with promise and possibility. This was their moment. The garden was alive, and so were they. Now, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help spread this beautiful transformation. Comment below your favorite part of this ending, and let your heart spill all your feelings. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this incredible journey. Don't wait not even one more second. Show your support and be part of our amazing community.